For being one of the biggest franchises out there, there's not much discourse for the films in One Piece's extensive catalog. And I get it, One Piece is already a big enough commitment without any of the movies to add to the watch list. And since they are all non-canon essentially, why waste time even bothering with them, knowing they will not provide any essential story elements to the manga or anime series? I mean, put it this way, One Piece Film Gold is 2 hours. You could either spend time with that, or stay committed to the TV series and get another 6 episodes ahead in the story. And especially if many of the One Piece movies don't have the greatest reputation, don't let your understanding of the movies stop there. Do many feel like filler arcs? Yes, but there are a handful that provide some really fun filler arcs. So a few of these movies may just be worth your time. So let's get into it. Here I'll be going through all 15 theatrically released movies. Why just those? Well, you're right. There are a bunch of TV special movies as well, but I'll cover those in another video later. One reason being that it would take up too much time in one video, but the biggest reason is that I've actually only seen 2 of those ones. In fact, there were a couple of these movies that I hadn't seen until last night before recording, so let's get to it. There will be 3 categories. Lose it, deeming the movie, frankly, a waste of time for anyone not worrying about watching every single one, like me. It doesn't add anything special, or maybe it's just really, really boring. You decide, meaning there are some elements that make it an alright time maybe even a little good, or maybe even a little bad in some cases. But the main thing is that it really doesn't matter. Maybe you're not going to get much from it, but hey, maybe you will. So it's up to you. Really, these are all up to you. Watch or don't watch, whatever you want. And lastly, we have super, meaning these ones are actually so good that they're worthy of a Frankie call. And maybe they're even worthy of being considered canon. Let's get into it. Movie 1, One Piece the movie. Coming in at just under an hour, the first One Piece film ever definitely feels like a filler arc from the East Blue Saga. I'd put it in there with Warship Island in terms of what to expect from this, which is not a bad thing. This is also set some time before Baratie, so Sanji is nowhere to be found. Does that make me a little sad? Maybe, but we get through it. One of the best parts about this movie is that it may be the only one that tries to be a classic treasure hunt tale. The great pirate Wunan obtained around a third of the world's gold and went missing many years back. So basically, this is an early Straw Hats versus the pirate El Drago and his crew to find this great treasure. If it wasn't for the animation, this movie would probably, most likely, definitely be ranked lower on the list for me. But this is the only One Piece movie drawn using cell animation, which is to say, it's the only One Piece movie drawn entirely by hand. And you know what? It is very clear that it is, because I love the classic visual feeling of this movie. But yeah, the movie itself, story and whatnot, it's alright for sure. Does it add anything to One Piece besides cell animated art? Not really. But if you're a person who loves One Piece and loves exploring the mediums of animation, then maybe this is the one for you. You decide. Movie 2, Clockwork Island Adventure, or Adventure on Spiral Island, whichever title you prefer. After the Going Merry is hijacked on the beach, the Straw Hats go after it and run into the Thief Brothers on the way. They find out the Merry was stolen by the Trump pirates and continue to search, leading to the discovery of Spiral Island, and all the shenanigans that go down there. Let's just say that if this was not a movie, and I was not on a mission to watch all of these, which is completely separate from my mission to read and watch the anime and manga, this would definitely be a filler arc following something like Skypiea in quality that I would be sighing through, just looking forward to the minute I finished those filler episodes so I could get back to the main story. That isn't a comment on Skypiea, it's a comment on the filler around Skypiea. But watching this as a movie, I don't hate it. It has its moments, but much like many of these early One Piece movies, it's an hour long and it somehow drags. I'd suggest just losing it. Movie 3, Chopper's Kingdom on the Island of Strange Animals. The Going Merry gets launched across an island in the Grand Line, and Chopper has the misfortune of falling out of the ship. He lands in a tribe of animals, and this kid, who worship him as their savior king. As the Straw Hats search for Chopper, they have several interactions with the Horn Hunters, led by Count Butler, who wants to eat the horns of animals until he eats the right one to inherit its power. Yeah. Okay, anyway, I said the last one dragged a bit. This one is actually under an hour, and it feels like 3. This would be a post-Alabasta filler arc. 100%. And not even the feeling of watching this as a movie, as its own thing, could save this unfortunately not so great Chopper story. I love Chopper. I do. I love Chopper. But wow, I do not love this movie. Lose it so fast. Movie 4, Dead End Adventure, a proper pirate ship race movie. In a state that will not be uncommon for the Straw Hats, they've used up all their money and need a way of making a bunch very quickly. With a marine turned pirate, Gaspard, I don't remember, and a bounty hunter after him, the Straw Hats enter the secret Dead End competition to race the prize money. This is the first One Piece movie that reaches not only over an hour, but over the 90-minute mark. And honestly, it's quite a bit more exciting of a tale than the ones before it. Is it still far from feeling like anything beyond filler? Maybe, but it's also far from feeling like the worst filler has to offer. It's a good bit of fun, even though it still manages to feel like longer than it is. It may be worth your time as another small stakes Straw Hat adventure, who knows? That's why we're giving this a you decide. Movie 5, The Cursed Holy Sword, or The Curse of the Sacred Sword, again, whichever title you prefer, it doesn't really matter. They tried to put another Straw Hat in the lead with Chopper in movie 3, and it didn't really work out. So what happens when we put Zoro in the lead for movie 5? Not much, honestly. The 7-star sword is the greatest sword in the world on Oscar Island. It curses anyone who wields it. Zoro goes missing, and the Straw Hats go looking for him here. Here they encounter the village tasked with protecting the sword, and learn of Saga, Zoro's childhood friend. The final fight is cool. I'll give this movie that. But for the most part, they don't do anything interesting with Zoro to justify his departure from a side character to the lead. They basically still write him as a side character with the most screen time of the movie. It makes for a very basic and boring plot and a bit of a drag of a movie, honestly. Because of this, it might be better just to lose it. Movie 6, Baron Omatsuri and the Secret Island. Here we go, one of the most famous ones, and for good reason. The plot seems like a bit of a filler arc at first, but it ends up becoming so much more. On a recreational island run by Baron Omatsuri, the Straw Hats complete a series of games and challenges to win the right to stay on the island. But as they go on to enjoy the island, the more the mystery becomes unraveled of what sinister plots are actually at motion here. You know what? It may help that Mamoru Hosoda was the creative mind behind this, the same mind behind masterpieces like Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, and much, much more. And as far as One Piece movies go, if I were to recommend any to someone unfamiliar with the series, this would be the one I'd turn to. Maybe it creates a different expectation from what to expect from One Piece, but it's a great movie on its own. And not only because it does a great job of setting up the dynamic of the Straw Hats throughout the movie, but because there is so much more to the story than action and goofy shenanigans, even if there is plenty of fun of that. The animation is also completely different in art style from every other piece of One Piece media. This is as much a Hosoda movie as it is a One Piece movie. A huge part of that is also the vastly different tone and storytelling from the rest of the movies and series. You know what? Okay, you know what? I've been praising it. It's great. But I will say this though, I see so many people commenting on how dark this movie is compared to the norm for One Piece. How it's like horror for One Piece, and it's not that dark, you know. At least not in any way that the comments on this movie and how people should sell this movie should be about how dark it is, and that's why you should watch it. I mean, are there shots that could have come straight from Evangelion? Yes, obviously, but that doesn't mean it's the darkest One Piece has ever been. I'd say it's far from it, honestly. Moving to the action though, it has one move that is so incredible that it inspired the anime series for one of the best moments in the Sabaody Archipelago arc. It's super. Movie 7, The Great Mechanical Soldier of Karakuri Castle. Of all these movies, this is by far one of them. It 100% exists. And you know what, I will say this, it doesn't exist to please. Here it is. Okay, the Straw Hats visit Mecha Island and meet the leader, Ratchet. In search of the Golden Crown, they find out the island is actually a giant turtle. Go figure. Turns out, Ratchet actually knew this, and his goal was to use the mechanical castle to control the turtle to take over the world. That is a plot that exists. I will say that. And you know what? It's not very good. It's really, really boring. And it really just doesn't bring anything good. But hey, it's fine. Just lose it. Forget about it. It's all good. Movie 8, Episode of Alabasta, The Desert Princess and the Pirates. This one is a very, very, very speedy recap of the Alabasta arc, which is one of the best arcs in the story. Now, in the anime, this arc is about 39 episodes long, roughly around 13 hours, give or take, and this movie is an hour and a half. So yeah, you can imagine how speedy it needs to be to start before they reach the island and end by the time they leave it. It's not terrible for a highlight reel if you're very, very familiar with the arc, but I feel bad for anyone who experiences Alabasta for the first time with this. It has updated animation, so that's something, but if you are a fan of the old animation, this is definitely not a drastic enough upgrade to make a difference. If it was made years later with the same animation as some of the other arc recap movies like the East Blue one and the Skypia one, then maybe I'd be a little nicer towards this. But that isn't the case, so it really doesn't do anything worthy of note. Just lose it. Movie 9, Episode of Chopper Plus, Bloom in the Winter, Miracle Cherry Blossom. It's a beautiful title. Just beautiful. Unlike the Episode of Alabasta movie, this one goes for condensing an arc while actually still providing an alternate spin on it. This is the padded down version of Drum Island, but if the Straw Hats had already met Robin and Frankie. So Vivi's out of here. The newer animation actually does deviate a bit for its own art style. It isn't as obvious as something like Baron Omatsuri, but it's enough to create a new experience. That's right. This alternate version includes Wapple's brother, who really should have had no part in this. Wapple is already the worst, so giving him more screen time to be with his almost equally annoying brother was just a mistake. I don't know what else to say. That being said, this actually does a good job at condensing the Drum Island arc into a cohesive story, while being fast-paced for sure. Even if it felt like a speedrun sometimes, it wasn't one that gave me whiplash. This movie actually gave me confidence that the live action can do Chopper's arc justice in 2 1-hour-long episodes. But at the end of the day, it won't be better than the actual arc in terms of what you're watching for the anime, so it doesn't really matter, but it's alright, so you decide. Movie 10, Strong World. The first of the era of One Piece movies with original stories by Eiichiro Oda, who also had a big hand in producing them as well. Years after the pirate Shiki escaped from Impel Down, he returns with a plan to bring the world government down. After crossing paths with the Straw Hats, he kidnaps Nami out of the desire to use her knowledge of meteorology and probably the desire for other stuff, but I don't really want to talk about that. Anyway, the Straw Hats end up on a series of islands filled with strange creatures, looking to get Nami back and take Shiki down. You can tell this one was a story from Oda because there is so much of it that plays into established motivations of each Straw Hat and their stories. Well, most of the Straw Hats anyway. Specifically creating a great focus on Nami and her past with the fishmen and Luffy going after her, connecting a lot back to their dynamic in Arlong Park. There are some incredible scenes revolving around this. The villain Shiki was also defeated by Roger before, so facing Luffy creates a dynamic for him since it's another pirate from East Blue defeating him. This is where the animation budget also gets a significant increase for these movies, and there are some stellar looking moments. You get to see fun pairings of the Straw Hats as they're split into smaller groups, and that's really fun to watch. The thing about these newer movies here is that they sort of become an excuse just to give the Straw Hats new outfits to market, but I'm absolutely here for it. It's awesome. Especially with Strong World, their fits are just so unbelievably fire. It's beautiful. It's a definite super. Movie 11, One Piece 3D, Straw Hat Chase. This is also the first of its kind, being the first One Piece movie entirely in 3D CG animation. And let me tell you, there's a reason it's essentially the last of its kind, because, wow, this looks disgusting. It's like a really bad video game cutscene for the entire runtime. And I say that specifically because the video game cutscenes actually look better than this. And the story itself, again, feels like it could pass as a post-Alabasta filler. I keep mentioning post-Alabasta. I hate those filler episodes. That's why I'm relating it to this, because those filler episodes suck. So, there isn't anything worthy of note here, in a good way. You'd be like, oh, worthy of note, it's the first time they tried CG animation. Well, that's great, too bad it looks terrible. Lose it. Again, lose it so fast. I couldn't lose it fast enough, honestly. Movie 12, Film Z. The former Marine Zephyr, now Zed, sails the seas to see the destruction of every pirate in the world. The Straw Hats rescue Zed from the sea after one of his battles, and after discovering they are pirates, he attacks and defeats them all. Zed's ships find him, and his supporters turn Nami, Robin, I think Chopper as well, and Brooke, 10 years younger. Determined to go after Zed again since he stole Shank's hat, Luffy is completely unaware of Zed's real plan to use a force that rivals the ancient weapons. This is one of the most compelling villains in these movies, I'd say, as well as one of the most interesting and entertaining to watch. The animation also takes another huge step up here, and the final fight is just excellent. The whole turning some of the crew younger is a really fun idea, and it's executed, pretty well, and it's just and Sanji has to say a line that's just so I don't know,
what's that?
It's not right. It's not. It just isn't.
What's that, brother?
Don't like it. Don't say that. I don't know. But anyway, the movie itself is very good. So absolutely, it's a super. Movie 13, Film Gold. The Straw Hats make their way to Grand Tesoro, the moving city of entertainment outside the rules of the government. Luffy leads the Straw Hats to gamble themselves into a trap and get themselves in serious debt, so they have to work off what they owe to Tesoro, who has his own motivations for entrapping all of those in the city. And honestly, when those motivations interrupt the movie to flash back, it's done very, very well in a very compelling way, I'll say that. The best thing about this movie, though, is that it goes for a heist movie, and it does it pretty well. The action is for sure enjoyable, but I'd say it's nothing, vastly impressive compared to some of the other One Piece movies. And the same goes for the story really as well, and the setup, the situation, where they are, just kind of the intrigue of the story is not, it's good, it's fine, but it's just not what it can be, I guess, compared to some of these others. And there's some good moments too, but I feel like if you miss this movie, it wouldn't be the end of the world, so I guess we'll leave this with you decide. Movie 14, One Piece Stampede. During the Great Pirate Festival, the Straw Hats join a race in search of a piece of Goldie Roger's treasure. Meanwhile, the festival master seems to be working with an old member of Roger's crew who has unfinished business in search of the One Piece. If there's any of these that I would pick to be canon, it's this one. There are some truly amazing moments that really bring home what Luffy wants from this adventure and the entire reason why he's made the friends that he has. I mean, nothing we don't understand from the series. And you know what? The scenes in this movie maybe aren't even the best scenes that deliver those messages, but they still do a pretty good job at it. And in fact, it's just another layer to add onto it. It's layers upon layers of story. It's great. There were actual parts of this movie that had me genuinely questioning, how are they going to end it to make it work as non-canon? Because so much of this feels like it could work as a turning point in the era if it was left unchecked, which just makes it feel like it could be a great part of the story. The animation in this is also the best of any of these movies, using that incredible Wano art style with an even bigger budget. Every frame just looks so beautiful. Well, almost every frame. There's some CG in this as well, especially in the final act. It may not look as good, but it's far from the worst CGI in anime that I've seen. I can tell you that much. An awesome part of this movie, it's super exciting, is just everyone is here as well. You see all these characters like, oh my goodness, it's those guys, look, it's them. It's just kind of like one of those kind of movies as well. Loved a part of it where we got to continuously make fun of how bad Wapol and Foxy are as characters and how underwhelming they are. There were plenty of jokes at them. That was awesome. It's just super exciting. It's not one that I would recommend for first-time viewers, but for fans of One Piece, this is a must-watch. It's super. Can I give it 10 supers? Movie 15, the newest one, Film Red. The most famous singer in the world, Uta, holds a concert with the goal of ushering in a new era of peace and happiness. Oh, that's just beautiful. That's beautiful. As Uta's true identity is revealed and the Straw Hats attend her performance, the Navy closes in as a more serious plot surrounding the concert unravels. This one is also a musical, so that's fun. And truthfully, it's got to be one of my favorite musicals, not just because it's One Piece, but the reason for why it goes for this genre, why Uta's holding this concert, why she sings the song that she does, it's so interesting. It's so well delivered. A huge bonus with this movie is that we also get to see Shanks in some cool action, and it's glorious. And you know what? Maybe it's because it was the first piece of One Piece media that I had experienced, and it's what got me into wanting to experience the main story of One Piece, but Film Red is an easy super. And that's the end of it. They're all ordered. If you're interested in a video on the rest of the movies, let me know and I'll try to watch through them all. I will at some point anyway. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in. I've been Shin Glassman, along with one last call to subscribe. Again, this first call to subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.